I'm really pleased to be working on the 7 Claim Stories project with IPTF. This is born out of an idea I had last year. I wanted to highlight some of the great things that happens in claims and also some of the areas of concern where we as an industry can do better. I wanted to shine a light on the whole process and help people understand and educate them. We're going to be covering a number of topics throughout the project. We'll be looking at things like misrepresentation. We'll be looking at value-added benefits and also vocational rehabilitation, demystifying financial assessments and the evidence required for them, as well as looking at a day in the life of a claims assessor and actually looking at what best practice looks like. But to open the project, we wanted to focus on the role that advisors have. We chose this story because it was a great example of how an advisor can work in collaboration with a claims team to not just make a positive impact in terms of speeding up the claims journey and helping the customer, but because it also represents the underserved part of the market. So somebody who isn't perhaps a typical income protection customer, as highlighted in the recent IRS and IPTF report, the profile of an income protection customer. And in this case, the person concerned, the claimant, spoke English as a second language, and it highlights how an advisor can help when somebody has poor literacy skills or doesn't speak English as a first language, and how they can help explain some of the terminology that we take for granted in the industry. So I'd like to introduce you to Susanna and Rob, who will tell you their story.
My client is self-employed carpenter. He is working here in the UK, but he's also providing for his family back in Poland. It was very important for him to make sure that if something would happen to him, there is so many people relying on his income so that this income is protected. So that's why, apart from other needs that we identify during this conversation, we really focus on income protection. My customer just called me and he said that a few days ago he had extreme abdominal pain, so he needed to be admitted to the hospital and he had urgent surgery. He was curious if his policy would cover this kind of incident, and I said that of course let me check with the provider. So that's why I called Cianchester to ask for the next steps, what we should do to make a claim.
We first became aware of the claim when Susanna called us. She wanted to let us know that her client had to have an emergency appendectomy. So she wanted to understand the process from a client's perspective. So we went through everything, so what we needed from a financial and a medical perspective. And then we also explained to her that we needed a consent form to allow us to speak to Susanna. And then she could obviously go and get that from her client, and we could then help her and work with her and the client to make sure we can pay the claim as quickly as possible. So there's usually a lot of pitfalls in terms of the claims process, mainly around not understanding what we need financially and medically. So when you've got someone who has any language or literacy sort of limitations really, then it's even better to have our advisors on side and working with us to help those customers and those clients really make sure that claims journey is really seamless.
Because customer is not fluent in English, it was very important that we explain the customer what is needed. We translated some of the communication between the provider and customer to make sure that he has the good understanding what is the process, what are the next steps, what kind of documentation he needs to prepare. This is not a usual thing for him. He's carpenter, so he's not dealing with the emails. So that's why I was constantly in between them, trying to connect both parties that we can speed up the process.
So Susanna was instrumental in that client journey to make sure that the claims process was really, really seamless. She was able to get information translated, and she was able to make sure that the client really understood what they needed to do to finish the claim. Whilst we had to do our own checks behind the scenes to make sure the information was present correct, it was really helpful to have Susanna on board.
Happily, the customer was off work only for 6 weeks, so it was quite a speedy recovery. Once he was okay, then we talk again. I asked him about his feelings about the policy now, after he tried, unfortunately, on himself how it works. He was very happy, very pleased that he chose this policy, and it worked exactly as it should. Also, Cianchester team was brilliant. They helped a lot. The whole claim process was very quick, very efficient. The customer felt that he was really looked after by all parties, which of course for me is also great, because happy customer, then he's recommending us further. So a lot of his friends, other carpenters, were asking for those options. So this is brilliant for me, for customer, and the business.
This is a fantastic example of how an advisor can help their customer when they need to make a claim. Susanna was able to help her client understand the information that was needed, gather all of the evidence and send it to the insurer so they could pay the claim quickly. It took the strain off the client and enabled him to concentrate on getting better. The role of an advisor can also be really helpful for the claims team. With the FCA's increasing spotlight on good customer outcomes, there's never been a better time for advisors to get involved in claims, and for insurers to work with advisors to achieve better customer outcomes, something that we all want to achieve.